Do you, a friend, a loved one, someone you know, struggle with alcohol use disorder? Alcohol use disorder, otherwise known as AUD, is basically anything from the occasional binge drinker to all the way to the daily chronic drinker. Anyone that has an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. 3.3 million people die every single year for AUD. The World Health Institute estimates that a person dies every second from an alcohol-related cause. With the increase of stress and pressure due to the pandemic, there has been an 84% increase of problem drinking in women alone. With the holidays just around the corner, this has become a very serious issue. 80 to 90% of people struggling with AUD don't even seek help because they are falsely led to believe that they have to put alcohol aside for the rest of their lives. While the traditional AUD treatments do involve abstinence, TSM, otherwise known as the Sinclair Method, is not one. The Sinclair Method has a 78% long-term success rate. As many of you already know, I am a proud supporter of this cause because I believe that this is a very serious issue that is at times overlooked. We don't take it as seriously as other substance abuses, such as drug abuse, when it's actually, in some cases, even more dangerous, because this is a substance that is legal and is readily available. And yet it continues to destroy families and ruin lives. This method involves the use of an FDA-approved, non-addictive, completely safe medication. It is a treatment that is not only less expensive than the traditional treatments, that makes it a lot more accessible to the normal person struggling with AUD. It also gives you the freedom to not have to take time off of work, and also the privacy. Many, with the jobs that they have, struggle with this aspect of AUD, that they don't want everyone to know that they're struggling with this. Some may even lose their jobs if they were to admit to this issue. In my experience, I've gotten a lot of questions from just the basics of TSM all the way to the usage of this medication. So now I will answer some of the most common questions that I've gotten about this. And to do that, I have none other than the expert here, Claudia Christian. Claudia Christian is a well-known, successful actress that has starred in over 50 films and hundreds of hours of TV. She is also a very successful voice actress. You may recognize her from starring roles in TV series such as Babylon 5, 911, NCIS, Criminal Minds, and films like The Clean and Sober, The Hidden, just to name a few. She's also one of the most and biggest and well-known advocates for TSM. She is the CEO and founder of a nonprofit organization called the C3 Foundation. She has done a fantastic TED Talk on TSM. She's also written 2 books and produced a movie on it. So Claudia, welcome.
Thank you, Atia. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I'm so happy to be here, having a lovely, vivacious young woman like you talking about the wonders of this method for alcohol use disorder. I'm super excited. Thank you.
Thank you. So here are some of the most common questions for someone that has absolutely no idea or has maybe heard something about TSM so that they have a better understanding of this. So can you please explain a little bit about your own experience and where it all started with AUD.
I was a light drinker in my 20s and a social drinker in my 30s, and I do have the genetic predisposition of alcohol use disorder in my both sides of my family. I started drinking heavily in my late 30s after forcing myself to become abstinent because I was concerned about my drinking levels. That caused, unbeknownst to me, what's called the alcohol deprivation effect. And so I started a binge abstinent cycle that lasted for quite a few years while I sought treatment, all sorts of places. I did traditional treatment, rehab facility, AA meetings, untraditional things like hypnotherapy and vitamin therapy. I did, you name it, psychotherapy. Nothing worked on me. I was a chronic relapser / binger until I found the Sinclair Method in 2009, which I stayed on until 2018, when I then chose to be abstinent by choice. And it's been such a remarkable ride, if you will, and recovery journey that I felt compelled even from the very beginning to share my story so that people out there would have some hope. And now I work with veterans, young mothers, I mean, you name it. When you said a pressing need for privacy, lawyers, airline pilots, doctors, surgeons, you know, I mean, there are so many people out there. This affects everybody. And you're right, during the pandemic, it has gotten a lot worse. So we really need to start educating everybody to be able to ask their doctor about this life-saving treatment.
Wow. So you answered the next question, which was whether or not you've actually sought other treatments before working with TSM.
I did indeed, and I do talk about that in my TED Talk, as you mentioned. You know, I am a firm believer of whatever works for you is wonderful. So if you used a 12-step method or equine therapy, that's great. Grapefruit juice diet, I don't care. I just want everyone to get better. And I want everyone to have the knowledge that they need. And if that means anecdotal experience from people like me speaking out about a medication that helped me, then that's what all of us need to do. And by the way, I'm not just, you know, myopic about naltrexone. There are other medications for alcohol use disorder that work beautifully for people, including baclofen, gabapentin for withdrawal symptoms, acamprosate, a combination of medications. So this is not a one size fit all. There is no my way or the highway when it comes to recovery. You have to find what works for you, but you have to have a doctor that supports you in doing this. And unfortunately, doctors take very little addiction education during medical school. And they don't do it as additional continuing education credits after they get their degrees. So their knowledge of recent science-based treatments for addictions is very small. And so they keep prescribing things ineffectively, and they keep relying on things like gosh, the one that I can't stand, antabuse, which is punitive, and it doesn't really work for people. So that's where my passion comes from.
Wonderful. So that's a beautiful segue into the next question. How does it work? What does it involve, and how does it work?
Okay, so naltrexone has been FDA approved since 1994 for the use in alcohol use disorder, but doctors prescribe it with abstinence daily. Now, this is an opiate antagonist, an opiate blocker. So the opiates that our own body's sort of morphine, dopamine that we release when we drink alcohol, right, in the form of endorphins. So when you drink, you release these endorphins, right? And the naltrexone will block them. So the opiate receptor will not get that fix of endorphins. So the way doctors are prescribing it now is to take it in the morning and don't drink. So think about that. If you take it at 9 o'clock in the morning and then you go on your morning run, what are you blocking? You're blocking the run. You're blocking the endorphins from the run. If you take it at 10 o'clock in the morning and make love to your spouse, what are you blocking?
Yeah.
You know, if you take it at 1 in the afternoon and then go for a beautiful lunch, you get the point. The point is to take it as targeted pharmacological extinction, which means you take it an hour before engaging in the behavior you wish to decrease or stop, whether that's drinking or gambling. So if I want to decrease my drinking, and I know that I'm going to be wanting a drink at 6 p.m., I'm going to take the medication at 5. Why do I wait an hour? Because the medication has to get into the bloodstream and into the brain so that it can work effectively. So this is a medication where you have to actually be compliant and mindful about it, but think about what you're trading off here. You're trading off a life of no compulsive addiction and no thoughts about alcohol. And now you get your off button back, but you're taking a medication mindfully an hour prior to engaging in that behavior. So that is what the basis of this method is. You take it in a targeted manner. You don't take it randomly during the day and then it wears off by cocktail hour, as doctors tell you to do. You know, just take it in the morning and block all day long of beautiful natural endorphins. And then right around evening time when you're craving alcohol, the medication is worn off. I mean, think about it. That's what they're doing. And that's why people find it ineffective. So in this manner, TSM is targeted use of naltrexone. Naltrexone, as you said, is a generic FDA-approved medication. You're just taking it in a different manner. You're taking it 1 hour prior to the behavior you wish to decrease or stop. Every time you drink, by the way. This is a lifetime commitment if you continue to drink. If you stop drinking, like I did, I don't have to take naltrexone anymore.
Wonderful. That actually answers the next question, which is something I really want to put a lot of emphasis on, because this is an issue that I'm seeing more and more of, at least here in Canada. So it is an FDA-approved medication. It's safe, it's non-addictive, any doctor can prescribe it. Now, a lot of the people that have reached out to me and have, described their experience, whether it was them checking into rehab and being prescribed naltrexone in a daily dosage manner, or it was to just go to their doctor and the doctor had no idea what this was and they just referred them to rehab. So how does one in this kind of situation deal with that? How do you go from a dosage, a daily dosage of naltrexone that your doctor has prescribed to you, or hearing this, listening to this, and thinking this could help me. I do want to do TSM, and I'm not really sure where to start with my doctor, or whether or not my doctor would actually even have information about that, because this is a serious issue that I am hearing more and more about. So how would you recommend they go about that, and what would you recommend they do?
Okay, so it is your job, and it is first of all, it's your right to this medication. People have to understand that. You have a right to life-saving medication. And if you have the courage to go to your medical professional and admit that you're concerned about your drinking and that you want to try this FDA-approved medication, he or she has to give it to you. That's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. What you can do to help them convince your doctor of doing this, you can go to my nonprofit organization, C3 Foundation. There is a link to our doctor's site. So you can tell your doctor, please go to c3foundation.net and look at all the clinical studies. Or you can take it one step further and go to the website c3foundation.org and look at all the resources and print out for your doctor. There's resources that are specifically for your doctor. Print out the clinical trials and the protocol by Dr. Stephen Cox. Bring it into your doctor and say, look, this has been used in Europe since the 1980s. It's used in the UK. It's used all over the world, and the entire United States and all of Canada and all of Australia is covered with doctors supporting their patients doing TSM. And that is the truth. The entire US, all of Canada, all of Australia, most of the UK, all of it with doctors covered that will support you doing TSM. You say to your doctor, I understand if you don't know about this, but you should be educated about it because hundreds of doctors are using it with wonderful results. That's why they joined C3 Foundation, and that's why there's a provider list. I want you not only to give me this medication and support me doing TSM, but I want you to join the C3 Foundation website as a provider. once you see the results. And in that way, you're not only educating your doctor, you're paying it forward, because now every patient who comes to that provider, that doctor, and says, you know what, and it's so hard to admit this to your doctor, I'm frightened about my drinking levels. That doctor will now have that life-saving information to say, well, you know what, I have a couple of patients using naltrexone in a targeted manner. Let's try that for you. So I know it's hard, and I know that there will be obstacles along the way, but you have to remind your doctor that they work for you and that your health is in their hands. It is malpractice to deny you this life-saving medication. It seriously is. There is no reason. It is not addictive. It is not dangerous. It is used in low doses for everything from fibromyalgia to cancer. This is a safe medication. And the fact that you have the courage, once again, to go to your doctor and ask for this, and you backed it up with clinical studies, and you can hand them the paperwork and say, you know what, will you just look at the information? That should be enough to persuade them. I would think, I would hope. And if it's not, and you live in Canada, go to my website and find a provider. Telemedicine is available through the entire country of Canada. Find a provider that will support you. And you tell your doctor, you know, it's a pity I had to go to this doctor, this other doctor, and do it telemedicine wise because you wouldn't support me in it. And then you can go back to them in a couple months and say, by the way, my drinking is reduced by half. So maybe now you'd like to learn about TSM. You know, there are ways around it. This is your recovery. This is your life. This is your choice in your recovery. And this is the right to live the kind of life you want to live. And it takes people like you, like me, to stand up for our rights and also to speak out about it, to reduce shame, to reduce stigma about this. This is not a choice. This is not a lifestyle. This is a disease of the brain. Your brain changes when you become alcoholic, when you develop an alcohol use disorder. Your brain literally changes, and you then have a compulsive disorder of the brain. This medication undoes addiction in the brain. Why wouldn't everyone want to know about this?
Yeah. And that's really the beauty of TSM, is that you don't have to go abstinent. You don't have to put alcohol aside, because the truth is, this has become, especially with the society that we live in, it is such a norm. And some people, regardless of their reasons, they just can't or don't want to put alcohol aside, but they do want to decrease that level. So really, for them to at least be aware that there is this option, right, there is this choice, is crucial.
Yeah, I mean, harm reduction is far more effective than abstinence. I cannot tell a 25-year-old to be abstinent for the rest of their life. And I don't want them to have a series of blackouts and relapses and put themselves in danger of sexual situations, of abuse, of making bad choices, of killing somebody in their car. All of these things can be prevented by harm reduction. And TSM is classic harm reduction. It is just not, it is not a very believable situation for a young person to think, oh my gosh, yeah, I'll be sober for the next 70 years. That's not a reality they can wrap their head around. I have had young people crying saying, what do you mean? I'm never going to be able to drink at my wedding? And I'm like, no, you can. You take medication an hour before, and guess what? You're going to remember your wedding. You're not going to make a fool of yourself. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to start your marriage off healthy. You know, so this is a really, really great treatment. And it's also a great treatment for older people who are lonely and using alcohol to self-medicate, especially during the pandemic. Isolation has increased drinking dramatically, especially amongst women. The stress and anxiety that has been produced by this, people are self-medicating like crazy. So this is a way to get your drinking under control. I'm not asking you to quit, just asking you to get it under control so that you and your loved ones have a safe environment and a healthy environment.
Wonderful. And what would you say is the key to success with TSM?
Definitely compliance is the number one rule. If you don't take the medication and take it properly, you're not doing TSM. And then the second thing I would say is mindfulness and accountability and changing your habits. You can't just pop a pill and then drink the same wine out of the same glass in front of the same Netflix show in the same room every single night of your life. Your brain is wired in a certain way. You have to trick it. You have to change your habits. You're also going to have so much more time on your hands once you stop drinking so much. So you have to prepare for that. Literally, people have to prepare for having a life now. You know, they have to start new activities or pick up old hobbies. I have people who started TSM and suddenly their drinking decreased so much they started playing with their old high school band again. They picked up instruments. They started learning a language. And this is beautiful. This is what life is about. Life is not supposed to be spent in an alcohol stupor. It's supposed to be spent having experiences and being present. And the best TSM recovery journey to me is somebody who takes it in a very holistic way. They change their life in so many profound ways. They start self-care. They start being present in their relationships. They're not thinking about how much wine is in the bottle. They're talking to their friends. They're listening and they're hearing the words as opposed to obsessing about when am I going to get my next drink. That's the beauty of TSM. It makes you human again.
Amazing. And I just want to clarify one important point, and I'll let you comment and chime in on that. This is in no way raising money or any kind of advertisement. There's nothing financially to be gained from this. This is simply to raise awareness about a treatment that works.
Yeah.
And it's an option. And it's really, the goal is if there is one person that will hear this and it will save their life,
it's worth it.
That's all that, you know, we hope for out of this.
It's interesting you bring that up because there are people who commented on my TED Talk saying, oh, she works for a pharma company. Listen, I wish I worked for a pharma company. I'd be paid a lot better. And unfortunately, naltrexone is generic. So there is no, money to be made except maybe maybe these multiple pharma companies produce naltrexone. There's lots of different generic brands of naltrexone. Yeah. So maybe they'll see an uptick in usage, but I don't think it's enough for them to really get behind it and start putting advertising into it. I wish they would. I also wish that these big pharma companies that produce naltrexone would support my nonprofit foundation. And if they want to, I'm happy to take the money so that we can continue doing our work. But no, I run a 501c3 nonprofit foundation and we rely on donations. We are donor driven. So everything that I do is to raise awareness and to hope that if the information I put out there has saved someone's life, that they give $100 or what they would have spent in rehab or anything to support my nonprofit foundation. So no, I'm not in this for the money. Naltrexone is generic. There's no big alcohol companies paying me to get out here and tell people to drink. I wish there was, in a way, once again. If Amhauser-Busch wants to come along and say, wow, we support this method because it involves drinking, I would gladly take the money and put it back into the nonprofit so we can continue providing free support. By the way, let me specify that as well. Anyone who needs help with the Sinclair Method can get all the free resources they need from my nonprofit website, c3foundation.org. All they need to do is go on there. They can find a provider. They can download a free drink log for Android or iPhone. They can get free online support, peer support meetings, 7 of them or 8 of them a week. There's links to Facebook pages for loved ones of people who are suffering from AUD, from people in the beginning of their TSM journey, and for people who've been on it for more than a year. So we have so many free resources. We also have a new coaching page with wonderful TSM coaches. I coach as well. So there's a lot of ways to help yourself for free or for very little money. And it's all right there. So anybody who needs help can find it just by going to the website.
Wonderful. Thank you. So really, I think that's, at least the basics of information that someone struggling with this or someone who knows people that are struggling with it. I know a handful that this has been extremely helpful for them. So really, I think this is at least the basic information that they can start with to know what it's all about and the fact that there is this option and this treatment out there that is successful.
Absolutely.
So, so really,
Atia,
you mentioned your sources.
it's wonderful that someone of your generation is talking out about this, because believe it or not, I'm seeing people that it scares me how young they are. And women especially, that their lives are consumed by alcohol and they are blacking out and putting themselves in really, really risky situations. They're losing their jobs, they're losing their significant others, they're losing their relationship with their parents. It's devastating to me, and it's starting younger and younger. So I really hope to get the word out to women in their teens, 20s, 30s. This is an age group that I never expected to be suffering this much. So thank you, Atia. I appreciate your support.
No, it's really my pleasure. I'm a proud supporter of this. The stories that I'm hearing, the situations of people that are reaching out to me, um, it literally keeps me up at night,
Yeah.
which is the reason why I am so passionate about this, and the whole reason why we're doing this video right now. So really, the message is, you know, if you're struggling with this, or if you know someone that is struggling with this, please share the video, first of all, and let them know that there are these resources. If you want to know more, that TED Talk is there. Everything will be linked below in the description bar, so that you know exactly what the resources are, where you can go, from the TED Talk to the books to the movie that is meant for, you know, the loved ones of those that are struggling with this, that you put the time into making, which is amazing.
One Little Pill is a great resource if somebody wants to try this method and their loved ones are saying, oh, it sounds like an excuse to drink or something, or they just don't understand the science behind it. You can get it for free on Amazon Prime, or you can rent it at onelittlepillmovie.com. And it is a great resource. It's less than an hour long. You sit down with your family and you watch it, and you will see real people on the Sinclair Method. You'll see Dr. David Sinclair talking about the Sinclair Method, and you'll just understand the science behind it. So I was really proud of that film, and it's helped so many people explain it to their loved ones.
It's amazing. It really is. And really, more importantly, the fact that there is a community out there, and there are people, as well as your nonprofit organization, that is completely dedicated to helping people that struggle with AUD, that want to know more about this. And sometimes you need that community, and to know that you're not alone in this, that people are there to support you, to help you. There's really no reason, and you mentioned this, and I really want you to emphasize on this, that there is no reason for someone to struggle with this.
No, there's no reason to suffer anymore. And when I started in 2009, there was nothing. There was Dr. Roy Escapa's book, The Cure for Alcoholism, and that was it. In the past 10 years, we've worked to having this entire community of people on TSM that can support each other. Like I said, we have peer support. We have a great forum called Options Save Lives. We have people that all over the world that meet up every week, every night, online, and there are people out there that will make you feel comfortable. People that just started TSM, people who've been on it for 5 years, or like me, who was on it for a decade. So you are not alone. This is real science. There is a real community out there. There are tons of resources, and as I said, there's no excuse if you live in Canada or America or the UK to not seek treatment. You have TSM friendly providers in these countries. So I do hope that people see this, and that they understand that they're not alone, and that it's time to get help and get your life under control, and to put alcohol in the back of your mind, and to live your joyous life, the life you deserve.
Yeah. And if you know someone that you think is struggling with this, and which is one of the biggest reasons why we're making this video, and you don't necessarily want to reach out to them directly or point this out, just share this video, and it'll get them thinking and wondering what this is, and at least there's a chance that they'll look into it.
Exactly. So I thank you, Atia.
Thank you. So really, the point is, TSM works. Please, if you need help, please reach out. There's a number of people that have, and that's the real cause of this video. So please reach out. We're happy to help. There's plenty of resources, and hopefully at least one person will be helped with this video. Thank you very much. And for all of you that just watched this and took the time, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you share this with someone that needs it. And we wish you wonderful, happy, and healthy holidays. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas, and a wonderful, wonderful New Year for you and your loved ones.
Thank you so much for having me.